So, thank you very much.
Well, hello and welcome back to day 2. It was quite a hectic, long day 1 of the auction. A lot of moving, a lot of movement happening. Started off pretty quietly, but then there was quite a mad rush towards the end. A lot of drama as well on the sidelines. We had Charu stepping in. The good news is, of course, that all is well and things should go on track. But of course, the picture is just building, and as we know, auction is where it all takes shape. So if day 1 was about just getting those big names and getting those game changers on board, day 2 is about completing that picture, and hopefully it will be a beautiful painting for quite a few teams, or just something that they can pass off as modern art. We'll wait and see how the days goes on. But thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Quick introductions. Of course, Deep Dasgupta, bright and early. Thank you. Good, nice to see you first thing in the morning, Deep. Joy Deepda as well, joining us in. Anand Vasu, thank you so much for coming in. Norman Kochenek was a little upset. We'll get to hear more from him, and of course, Prantik Mazumdar. Thank you so much, guys, for joining with us this morning. Day 1 was interesting. We kind of looked back on that, but I think we need to move ahead today and see which franchisees have what little gaps to be filled in. I'm sure all of you have your views and all your notes jotted in. So I'm going to straight away go into the team-wise breakup, gentlemen. The first one being Chennai Super Kings. Let's start with that. I think Joyda has a few points there. But Joyda, I'm going to come to you first. Chennai Super Kings, if you just look at the batting lineup, it's pretty much exactly the same squad that took the field in 2021. Ruturaj opening, obviously they lost Faf to Rajasthan, Royal Challengers Bangalore. We've got a strong middle order there of people who've been in the game for far too long. Jaddu somewhere there features in as well. Of course, DJ Bravo, Deepak Chahar got them, broke the bank for the first time beyond 10 crores. Did Super Kings, and of course a few little bowlers. Few key components missing over there. Joyda, what is your thoughts as well as to what they would be looking to
do? That's not a bad start. Just having 8 of your guys who played the last final. I don't know why the CSK supporters, including you, Rupa, why are you so despondent? I can't figure it out. I'd be really happy with this team. Okay, having said that, if you look at those names, Ruturaj Gaikwad playing for India, Jadeja, Dhoni, we know, Raidu, as good an IPL player as you'll get. Robin Uthappa, we saw in the final what he can do. Bravo, Moeen Ali playing for their country. Deepak Chahar, top player now for India. So if you see, they haven't done badly. And as I was telling you off air, you won't find 22 good players. And you need 5 guys to have a really good tournament for you to, win the trophy. This game is so small, so short, that you won't have 11 guys at the end of the year with, 15 wickets, 6 guys with 15, 18 wickets, 4 guys with 400 runs, 3 with 600 runs. There's no scope for that. So that is the reason why they are so top heavy. They're going with their match winners and they've retained their squad, something that goes with CSK. If you look back in history, they've always been able to manage to retain their players over a period of time, which is why they've been so successful.
Anyone else want to kind of come in on this and weigh in on how this squad looks at?
Yeah, if I may add to that, generally, if you look at CSK, they don't generally use a lot of players, right? Hardly 14, 15 guys play in a season for CSK. I mean, I'm saying on the higher side. So it's not that they'd be looking to get 18 players or 20 players, because that's not how CSK, that's not how they roll. Yeah. So for them, I think it's, looking at that batting order, Rituraj and Robin to open, Moeen at 3, Ambati at 4, Jadeja at 5, MSD at 6. That's a question mark how many games he's going to play. So maybe they need somebody in that position there. Maybe it's 5, 6, then Jadeja can sit at 5 or 6 or whatever. Bravo, Deepak Chahar at 8, Bravo at 7. Right. Yes, what they need right now are fast bowlers. They have Tushar Deshpande and K. Masif. Might not be the first choice fast bowlers straight away. So you're still looking at the bowling side. Again, you're playing in Mumbai and Pune as of now. So you're looking at more fast bowlers, and there are quite a few fast bowlers still to come in this auction. And as far as overseas are concerned, they just have two overseas so far. So they have that option of picking up overseas. There are quite a few overseas guys coming up.
Mm. All right.
I must say, Triple C is a loss to them and a big gain for RCB. I think that's one player that I know he went for a very high price. So that's a loss, in my opinion, for CSK.
Joyda, you were raising your hand.
Yeah, for sure, he is a loss, and you will know you will lose one or two. You will not be able to regain all of them. But you're happy if you regain 85, 90%. That very few teams have been able to do that besides Mumbai and CSK over a period of time, which is why the success also comes. And just to add to that, there is 20.45 crore remaining and a lot of good players coming up today. So there's a lot in it for them today. They will actually, by the end of today, Rupa will be smiling.
But just to counter that point, Joydeep, and first, hi to Veda. Hi, Veda. Hi, thanks for joining us this morning.
Morning.
Morning, Veda.
But just to kind of do a counterpoint on that, there's also another reason why Chennai was able to retain the original squad, because it's also about sort of looking ahead and not looking back. Prantik, I want to come to you. We talk about brand positioning, we talk about image of the team, we talk about the character and what they bring. Yes, of course, the core is important. MS is literally in the last stage of his illustrious career. Why aren't they thinking ahead, especially when it comes to building a team? Is that something that a franchise's responsibility as well?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think to add to Deepda's point, I think Pacers is one thing. Also, I think there's probably an option for, especially if you're looking at foreign players today, you're probably looking at some spinners as well. And I think there are quite a few for the offing. I mean, we were chatting about Zampar, Adil Rashid and the likes. But your point about brand, I think that's a good one, because I agree with Joydeep that they have a winning formula. But I think this mega auction is also about planning for the next 5-6 years, with Dhoni potentially 1-2 years, Robin Uthappa 36, Raidu out there. I am not very. I wasn't personally very pleased from building a franchise, a unit for the long run, because this is I think yesterday someone mentioned it's all around brand Dhoni. It's all around MS, the captain. I think Deepda yesterday was mentioning a point about certain franchises being captain led, certain being coach led, and Chennai obviously is very much around MS. And I probably would have liked to see, I would like, and this is still possible, is who are you going to groom as the next captain, as MS probably moves on in a year or two. So from that perspective, even if you look at the brands that CSK has, won't find too many, unicorn tech-led brand. You have the cement companies, the finance companies, traditional brands, nothing wrong with it. And it probably, goes well with the brand of cricket they've played and the players they have. But I think at some point, and I was hoping that this year, and maybe today, there is still chance, as Joydeep says, if you can pick a few younger players, especially overseas, who will bring a very different flavor with hopefully some digital media presence as well, I think it'll augur well for the franchise.
Digital media presence. Yeah, there's so much talk of that, and I keep probably towing the line when it comes to that aspect of a cricketer's life. But Anand, I want you to come in, because who are some of the key players you think that Chennai will be looking towards or will be interested in to fill up the rest of the gaps that of course Deep pointed out as well?
I think there are a lot of interesting foreign players, international players coming into the auction today. Yesterday, we got through the marquee list fairly quickly in the first half, and then we had a very slow period for a while, and then things suddenly went berserk again when you looked at the uncapped Indian players towards the end of the day. But there are a lot of players coming in today, especially international cricketers, who teams will be looking at. And also, given that purses are quite depleted across the board, you're going to get many of these players at a much better bargain, at a much better price than perhaps if they had come in first up yesterday. So I think the action will be a little quicker today. Chennai will know exactly where they stand. I think they will know that they might have missed out on one or two of their first choice picks on day one, and they'll be looking to make up for that. And they don't need to pick up too many players, as was just pointed out. You need 7, 8 solid players and build a team around that rather than 15 stars. So I think one fast bowler, one middle order batsman, and Chennai will be the Chennai squad will look a lot better than it does at the moment. I also think someone like Moeen Ali has not been used very well by England, but Chennai use him exceptionally well. I think he could play a much bigger part in this squad, even if you're playing only in Pune and Mumbai. Even with the smaller grounds, his bowling may not be that important, but his batting could become a very, very critical part of this Chennai team.
Yeah. Also looking at a key opener, perhaps. We do know Ritu was had a solid partnership with someone like a Faf, but you never know. Things could materialize into something a little clearer today. But I'm going to go over to the next team. I'm going to start with Norman for this one. Because I think he will have a thing or two to say about this. Delhi Capitals did spend quite a bit of money on day one. They only have 16 crores left, and if I could get Delhi Capitals on our screens to see exactly what players are there, we do know that they have a solid opening combination with Prithvi and David Warner. Norman, your thoughts on this? You do believe that David Warner could have gone for a bit more?
Look, I think this has been. You saw the glee in the franchise faces when they were able to get David Warner for 6.25 crores, and as well as that Mitchell Marsh. I think they've done very, very well with those two selections, or those two marquee players. They certainly have been able to capture players that are in form through the World Cup and have shown their worth. And they've come in at reasonably inexpensive amounts compared to what they got. In the case of Warner, certainly for previous years, Mitchell Marsh has gone up in value, but effectively they picked very, very good players, and the balance between both Rishabh Pant, of course, and Ricky Ponting as a coach is a great combination. I think they've done very, very well. They're going to miss Shreyas Iyer, there's no doubt. I think that one's one player they will miss effectively, but I think that they have done very, very well. Warner's come in at a very, very comfortable price. And as I said, I love watching the franchises have this gleeful look on their faces when they pick up a player at a good price. Even when Cummins was picked up by KKR, the same reaction occurred. In the Australian press at the moment, we're talking about $1 million players. Our coin phrase is not crores and lakhs. We talk about $1 million players. And obviously the likes of Mitch Marsh and Warner featured in that conversation. So Delhi, once again, I've used the word in previous years. I'm using it again. They're a very balanced squad. I like the balance of Delhi.
Yeah, if you look at the lineup, and I'm going to go to Veda with this, a very strong, potentially powerful top order there. You've got Prithvi, Warner, Mitchell, Pant making it up for the top four. Shardul may look to probably have a larger role, considering the sort of purple patch he's displayed with the bat. But yes, your thoughts, Veda, on what key slot would they be gunning for today, and any interesting picks that they might have in mind?
Oh, well, it's very dynamic, and if you see the top four, it's like wow, that is like top four where they're going to like just get runs at their will. There's nobody who's going to say that like they'll settle around and look for singles or look to build an innings. It's like four players who is going to just go all out. So it will be very interesting to see how they're going to give roles to them, because you cannot just have two players attacking from both ends, and it doesn't really make sense. It might work on a couple of days, but having such a long tournament, it will become very difficult for them to assign roles. You need to make sure that there is specific roles given to especially top four, with likes of young Prithvi and Rishabh. There is Mitch Marsh and David Warner, who are like immensely experienced, and they've done really well for the country. Plus, at the same time, the interesting part there would be is Akshay Patel and Shardul Thakur, who's literally you would say there are like 7 and 8, or probably 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
Yeah, so in that like lower middle order position, like a proper all rounder, and they've got Indian all rounders, so that is an addition as well, because they will feature in almost every game if there is no injury or something. So they have sorted that aspect of it with Mustafizur in the new ball, and someone who can bowl in the dead. They've got their premier fast bowler as well. So for me, the interesting pick is, though they have Sarfaraz Khan, um, I'm quite not sure how he would shape up or fit in what. They still need a solid number 5 who actually can get the innings going, and someone who comes in between and controls the inning, because there is everybody around them who's just going to go berserk. So that is something, maybe like we still have a set of capped Indian players, the experienced ones. Maybe one of them would be really crucial there. Someone like Ajinkya Rahane, maybe.
I was just going to ask, at this stage, and he's going to come up first at the auction, how important, and there is a sort of a lacuna in a lot of other teams when it comes to that number 4, number 5, you've got probably a nice big hitter, someone who can rotate the strike, but you need that stability at a number 4.
I think someone like him, like in between, like there's 4, someone put him in between like a number 3, and then you split those 4 players into 2 half. That is something I'd be interested to see if Delhi Capitals is going to go for that. Ajinkya was with them, so there is a tendency that we've seen that the franchisees go for the players they've had before. So I'd be interested if Delhi would go for them, and I still feel they need a premier spinner. Like, yes, Akshar Patel is someone who's done well, and who's done really well for Delhi Capital, but I still feel like someone, maybe a wrist spinner, just to add to that, and get a bit of a balance. So I think that is something they will be looking at as well. Maybe like a slumper.
Opening the floor to the rest on this, the first setup, you have guys like Aaron Finch, you have an Ajinkya Rahane, someone like a Cheshire Pujara, all these guys coming up. How excited would an Ajinkya Rahane's name kind of garner? How much of attention would that garner today? Because there are a few key gaps in that number 4, like we're talking. Thoughts? Anyone can jump in, guys.
Okay. For me, I think Ajinkya, you can't look at him at number 4 in T20 cricket. He's their opener. So I don't think in T20 cricket, someone like him, yes, he can be an insurance policy as well. I mentioned you lose 2 wickets early, then you can push him at 3. But then you've got to have that squad strength to have that kind of a luxury. You've got to have that proper playing 11, for that to happen. But having said that, I think Ajinkya, all the experience that he's got, he's going to have a few guys bidding for him. That's for sure. An Indian with experience, can bat at 3 or in the top 3. There will be takers for him. But my shopping list for these would be, listen, there are 3-4 good West Indian, fast bowling all-rounder or batting all-rounder coming up. Rovman Pal, Shepherd, Romario Shepherd, Odean Smith, Robin Powell is bowling now. So, they'll go for a few. And if you look at that area, that particular position, number 6, 7, finisher role, a few of those franchises can do with that, including Delhi Capital. So one DC's shopping list for me would be that Indian fast bowler. They have Nagarkoti. Chances are they might not play Mustafizur and Nokia together. So they would be looking at, obviously Shardul is there, but you need another Indian fast bowler. So an Indian fast bowler, and Veda mentioned maybe another spinner would come handy.
Okay, super. If there aren't any more additions on this one, let's go to the next team. The next team is Kolkata Knight Riders. Interesting few picks for them as well. The purse remaining for them is 12.65 crores. They probably still, they've got a few positions in place. Of course, Venki Iyer could open. Will they do the same with Sunil Narayan at the top, or would they look to shuffle that around? You've got a few of their already retained players like Andre Russell. They gotten Pat Cummins there to strengthen that lower middle order with the bat, as well as, of course, lead the pace attack. Shreyas Iyer coming in there, looking as captaincy material. Guys, opening the floor to all of y'all. What will they be looking to do? A few key bowling departments yet to be filled. Your thoughts?
All right.
Anyone can do it, right?
I'm gonna follow Veda and I'm gonna jump in what she advised all of us yesterday. So I'm gonna jump in straight away. Right. With KKR, when I look at that team and I'm looking at an opener and I'm looking at a wicketkeeper, Sheldon Jackson. Yes, I really like him. He's been around for a while, but I'm not too sure whether he's your banker there. 14 games. So maybe you might be looking at another opener. KKR's got 3 overseas. A few more overseas. Good options there. Middle order, Shreyas Iyer, Nitish Rana, yes. But then 5 and 6, you got to be looking at 5 and 6 players who can bat there. Opener, yes. And also, one thing I'm going to be very, very wary of in the KKR squad, you've got Pat Cummins, Australian captain. You don't know whether he's going to be there available for the whole season or not, whether he's going to come or not. In the past, we've had Australians backing out for various reasons. So one is that. Sunil Narayan, Varun Chakravarti, Andre Russell. 3 main guys you've retained who've missed games for various reasons for last 2-3 years. I don't remember when was the last time Andre Russell played a whole season and was injury-free. Same with Sunil Narayan and his issues since 2015 with action and everything else. Varun Chakravarti has been injured for major part of the last year or so. So I'm going to be looking at backups as well.
Norman, would you want to come in at this point?
Well, I mean, there's some interesting players on the market. You've got Liam Livingston, for example, which would fit very nicely into this squad, as well as Aiden Markram from South Africa, a Faf du Plessis replacement of sorts for any team. Not that he's a KKR person specifically, but those 2 players, I would see potentially KKR targeting them when they come up for their bids. I think they're an interesting pairing that would fit into the KKR mold, in my opinion. I think KKR they're going to have some soul searching. I don't think they're quite there. They have got Shreyas Iyer. They've got a very expensive and important bid for him. But have they put all their eggs in one basket somewhat? I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see who they target.
Joyda, obviously they'll also want a key wicket keeper there as well. Unless, of course, like we already mentioned, double up with the options that they have. But your thoughts as well on how this team's looking?
Yeah, so it all depends what plans they have. We saw Nitish Rana open in a few games. What does he want to do? Now, everybody wants to open in the top 3 in the T20 because that's where the cream is. So I understand that. Okay, we know Venkatesh Iyer has been used in the middle for India. We know what happened there. So he might be back at the top. So I think Sheldon Jackson as of now is probably the second keeper. I think they are going to go after somebody really big. And he's the backup. Like Deep said, I agree with him. And just to touch on Ajinkya Rahane, and I know we're going back, but just one point. If your team is 7 overs, 37 for 2, then Rahane is okay. So, but if your team is 7 overs, 70 for 2, and then Rahane walking in, so Rahane has to be used the way Badrinath was used CSK back in the day. They were often he'd pad up first and he would pad it up all 20 overs because it wasn't required. They had more good days than bad, so often he wouldn't bat. But I remember one game at the Eden Gardens where CSK were in trouble and he came and did his job. And when his job was over with 6 overs to go, he got out. Because his job was not to bat for the last 6 overs. That's the reason why they're good as good as they are. Because the roles are very, very specific. See, in this auction, it's pretty clear that there are some teams that are trying to retain their squad, like a Mumbai, like a DC, and make sure that we get most of our players we had because we've done well. And some who have not done well are trying to sort of get whoever they can get by. But when I look at KKR, a lot of questions asked. You've got your spinners sorted, but Varun, injuries, fielding, Pat Cummins, like Deep said, Mavi, I don't know. I mean, he's at good games and not so good games. Sunil Narayan, okay, is he going to open? Then who bats in the middle? This squad is looking really good when you see a few names, but a few names don't make up a team. You need the others to back it up. How the backup players will be will decide how good they look this evening.
Yeah,
Great
it's
holiday.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, KKR, I kind of spot quite a few risks actually. I mean, you only have 12 crores left. You have a few, you have star-studded names like Shreyas, Cummins, Andre Russell, who again, I think rightly pointed out, may or may not play. Injury is an issue. I think KKR definitely needs obviously a top wicket-keeper batsman. You need a local bowler. At this juncture, to me, it doesn't seem like a winning unit. There are lots of little risks which can eventually add up.
Anand?
Yeah, I think just to add a little bit perhaps to what Deep said earlier, this looks like a team that's in a best case scenario will be very, very good. But if something goes wrong, it could go very badly wrong because you need a lot more backup in this in this squad. It's like everything has been built towards in an optimistic sense that X will be fit, Y will bowl, Z will come for the whole tournament. All those things, lots of ifs and buts. If all those things come through, then this will be a very good squad. But even if one or two of those pieces are moved around, then suddenly it's looking a bit vulnerable.
All right, we'll move along very quickly, like someone says, and I'm going to take inspiration. But yeah, moving along very quickly, we're going to look at the other team and a team that has got its core pretty much spot on. In fact, that's exactly what they were probably focusing on. Mumbai Indians, if I could just quickly get that team up to see how they are looking. They've got Rohit, Ishan, Suryakumar, Pollard, Bumrah. That's pretty much their core, and they spent quite a bit on Ishan to get him in. Spent 15 crores at the highest paid so far, at least in this auction. A lot of gaps there, guys. How do we expect Mumbai Indians to be a little more active today? 27 crores they should be.
Okay, I'll start again.
Guys,
You are the opener. You are the opener here, so go ahead.
Typical opener.
Okay, so with MI, the thing is obviously they don't have an option but to be more active. There are quite a few players, and I was having a chat with someone last night from the camp, and they kind of upbeat with the number of players that are yet to come. So obviously it seems like, having spoken to them, that they have a plan in place, so which is good to hear. As you mentioned, Rupa, I think the biggest advantage at this point in time is the fact that they've got 27.85 CR in the purse. So I think that's their biggest advantage going into day two. And again, there are quite a few players, even though, as you mentioned, there are quite a few holes. There are a lot of holes, not quite a few. I mean, to be honest, it's not there. I mean, you basically, Brevis is not ready. It's going to take another year for him to get ready for this level, is what I think. So you got what? Rohit, Ishan, Surya, Pollard, Murugan Ashwin. I don't think he's your number one spinner or your straight away playing 11. So you got the Bumrah. So you got basically 5. So you need 6 guys who can fit into the playing 11. So they've got to. They don't have an option but to be active. I mean, today.
Yep.
Joyda,
just eight players so far. So obviously a lot of work to do. I hope they're skipping breakfast because yesterday they were really lazy in the morning. Yeah, but having said that, okay, Brevis is obviously a long-term share, new kid on the block, and you just see you're going with what you've seen, what you've heard, and they also, like Deep keeps saying, that they have a very, very good scouting system, just not in India. Most teams have it in India, and the others are on TV when you watch the Big Bash or anything else. But they have people there, so they are into their grassroots. So that is understandable, but I feel they will come all guns blazing today. A lot of money left in the pack. They had very, very good local scouting as well. They had about 5 or 6 camps. I think from Bengal, there were 3 or 4 camps that their camps that our boys went to. All the other teams had 1, max 2. I mean, they probably narrowed it down, had a second one. But Mumbai had about 4 or 5 and very, very well planned. So I feel, just like the Bumrahs came and everybody came through this John Wright and what he saw, I think there are a few more coming up.
Right. Anybody else wants to chip in before I move to the next?
Yeah, just quickly, I think it's an advantage having a lot of money and very few players when getting into the second day, because you're not in that situation where you have to balance things. It's kind of like all out now. So I think in that sense, Mumbai will be much more aggressive. Even yesterday, early on, they were very active in the bidding early on, but they didn't quite manage to get through and push through and clinch those players. I think today, knowing that the other teams have less of a purse to play with, Mumbai can go harder. And I think in that sense, they'll be able to pick up players much more regularly in the first part of the second day's auction.
After all, we've only gone through 97 players so far, haven't we? We've got quite a weighted amount today to actually choose from. We'll see a lot of movement for sure.
The other advantage that MI have as of now, they've only got one overseas player who fits into their playing 11. Looking at the auction list now, I mean, they can afford to pick up quite a few overseas players. I mean, they can get 3 overseas players who will fit into their playing 11. So don't be surprised. Obviously, Marco Johansson, they're going to go. See, the other thing, as Anand was mentioning, the fact that you saw MI going for a lot of these players yesterday. So that would give me an indication that they have a certain amount of money for all these players. So that wasn't enough yesterday, but today, with the purses as they are, with all the others, I think they would be in a better position.
Right, showing restraint, of course, is difficult, and more so when you have 72 crores to spend. The next franchise we're going to look at is Punjab Kings. It's always easier to go in with a heavy purse and end up spending quite a bit of it. But they showed considerable restraint. In fact, the only franchise that did not have to break that 10 crore barrier at any point, whether it was for Rabada or even someone like a Shah Rukh Khan who kind of touched there as well. So this is how that franchise is looking. Again, they do have somewhat of a nice top 3, a solid top 3 if you took a look at it. A good, decent enough few cogs in a bowling perspective, but again, a very, very wide gap when it comes to that middle order. Gentlemen and Veda, any thoughts on Punjab Kings and what they will look to? Because they also have a very, very heavy purse going in today.
Yeah, I think heavy sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Veda.
Punjab also is in a similar situation where they've got the top 3 sorted. They have a backup wicket keeper in Prab Simran. Again, it's empty. The middle order is empty as of now. And then you have Shah Rukh Khan. And then you have Harshdeep and Kagishwar Rabada, who will be obviously your first choice bowlers. Harpreet Brar, maybe or maybe not. It depends. How the combination sets in, because considering we're playing in smaller grounds, that will make a big impact. But I'd be keen to see, like, Punjab did have a selection in a process which was supposed to happen here in Bangalore because of the COVID case. The boys came in and they had to leave the next day in the morning, even without doing any selections. And I remember, like, a lot of domestic players had come in who had done just well in Vijay Hazare Trophy. So I think that would have been interesting if that selection process had gone through. Maybe they could have seen a lot of players close up in the nets, how they would go about, because it was right after the Vijay Hazare final. So players were in red hot form. The ones who had done really well were all invited to be a part of it. So I think they kind of knew for the fact that they need to look at the domestic players to build a team around. So that middle order slot is empty, and Kagishwar Rabada and Johnny Bairstow is only 2 international players they have. So they will be looking at the overseas all-rounders and overseas middle order bat. Like, the West Indies player is yet to come on for auction. So I think their eyes will be on them. And considering they have enough money in the purse, I think they will be able to outbeat the other franchises a little bit when they go for those players.
Anyone else wants to again add on, jump in?
Yeah, I think, to add to Veda's, as specifically, I really hope they kind of go all guns blazing for the likes of an Odean Smith or a Tim David, and from an overseas, I think, spinning options as well. I think given the purse that they have, I think they have the flexibility to bid really hard for some of these young overseas middle order batsmen as well as spinners. I think that's what I would be looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean,
Prantik loves Tim David. Prantik just loves Tim David.
You are
He
one
loves
definitely
Tim David.
loving
Yeah,
it.
you get Tim.
Norman, you better go for 10 crores.
Are you managing Tim David by some chance?
No. I'm just a big fan.
Yeah, because if you're not, then he is. So like that. Okay.
Norman, I consider him to be a Singaporean and not an Australian. So
I'm putting a notch on the wall. How many times you mentioned his name? It's going off the side of the wall now.
Well,
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah,
We're talking about middle order. I was just while Prantik and Veda were sharing their stuff. I was thinking at Asalanka, Markram, Van der Dusen, Tim David, few names that just cropped up in my head. Something that Punjab Kings can do with. I think someone like Asalanka is really good. Whatever little I've seen of him, I think he's someone. Markram's played for Punjab before. He knows that franchise. Maybe they might be going for Markram. Even Van der Dusen, I think he's a quality player as well. So yeah, I mean, you've got a few of these middle order, overseas middle order, and they can actually go for a few of them.
right.
Yeah, just to add to that, you sometimes these names are there, but you also have to see Indian conditions. Something like an Owen Morgan, as good as he is, has always struggled in the IPL, in KKR, in Hyderabad, wherever. So just because you're really doing well for your country, a lot of these new ones, even Aaron Markram, I mean, he hasn't really the promise that he came. I remember having a chat with Jack Kellis when I was with him in KKR, and he said Aaron Markram is the biggest thing that's going to come out of South Africa next. And coming from a man of Kellis' stature, that means a lot. But in these conditions, the pulse of the match is here. Does he fit into that template? What role? Is he at top 3? Is he at 4, 5, 6? These are the questions.
Just a question I have as well, and I want your thoughts on that too. Someone like a Rishi Dhawan, and in fact, because Veda mentioned Vijay Hazare, Syed Mushtaq, I mean, these tournaments, a lot of these guys have done really well. Someone like a Rishi Dhawan led his side as well brilliantly, had put in some great performances as well. How much will these performances kind of impact whether there will be interest in getting someone like, say, Rishi Dhawan into your setup?
He's not a bad option, to be honest. He's come a long way as a cricketer. Well, there was a lot of hype around him at the beginning, and he did play for India, and it was like long ago. He didn't get enough opportunity. Maybe at that time he wasn't ready. But if you see, especially the Vijay Hazare and Syed Mushtaq, what he's done for Himachal this year, he's come in, got wickets in all phases of the cricket, all phases of the game, and then he's come in and scored quick runs in the end. If you see the finals or the semi-finals, he's like 10 balls 30, 12 ball 30s, and it is not just big hittings. It is about like finding the gaps, like even getting boundaries when 5 fielders are out of the skill, and accessing, especially like playing so late. Someone who understands the Indian condition very well. Everybody were a little skeptical whether he'll still be leading Himachal this year or not. Maybe will they go forward and see someone younger and groom them? But he's come out and answered all of them, saying that, well, look, I'm here, and he's experienced and he's matured enough now to understand the situation and how to go about. And I've closely watched the Himachal team, how they've come together. There's a couple of players. There's Nikhil Ganta, who bats at number 4, who's a big hitting player. Like he hits for fun. I'm sure the franchises will be looking at him as well. And plus, at the same time, Prashant Chopra, who scored heavily in the domestic circuit. There's an advantage with him. He can bowl leg spin, he can bat. So he does all of it. So if you don't want to have him as a backup wicket keeper, he still can give you good leg spinners, and he's done really well in Ranji Trophy bowling those leg spinners. Or if you want a keeper, he can keep for you as well. And at the same time, he hasn't kept for Himachal, but that means he's a good fielder. So someone who just brings in everything together. So I'd be like really interested to see how these performance and the performance-driven players from Vijay Hazare and Syed Mushtaq, how they would go in today's auction.
Deep?
Yeah, I agree with.
I agree
with Veda on that. Yeah, I'll just jump in here. I agree with Veda on that. He was phenomenal in the Vijay Hazare. And even when it came into bat, in spite of the other opener getting the 100, the game was in the balance. It's his innings at the end that turned it in Himachal's favor after the Dinesh Karthik 100. Okay, he won an important toss in the morning, put Chennai in. They got off to a slow start. Dinesh Karthik came, got the 100, got a big total. And Chennai know how to win big. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, the 2 best white ball teams in the country. They've dominated in the last few years. In spite of that, for a Himachal team, the young guys that Veda mentioned, They were superb in the tournament. And also, what Rishi has done with the ball is taking out a leaf out of Harshal Patel. Before the 1.0, Rishi Dhawan was all about pace and odd slower ball. But right now, he's got a variety of slower balls. He's more a complete bowler, like a Harshal Patel is now. Harshal Patel never baffles you with his pace, maybe odd one here and there. But that's what Rishi Dhawan was doing. Every time they needed a wicket, they went to him. In fact, when the conditions were seeming, he gave it to the other bowlers. He came in one change because he wanted his other bowlers to bowl up front in easier bowling friendly conditions. When the conditions are tough, he came and bowled. So I really hope and feel that he should go really well, because these are the guys and conditions in India. 7 Indian players playing, you can't go wrong with these guys. He's
I know
a
Anand
complete player
wants a
now.
word. Thanks, Rita. I want Anand to wants a word in. So does Deep. Deep, I'm going to go to you first, and then we'll follow up with Anand.
No, obviously, I mean, all these guys who've done really well in the domestic circuit last year and a half will be in demand. There's no two ways. Someone like Rishi Dhawan. I mean, the other important thing is you don't have too many of them. Shivam Dube, Rishi Dhawan can give you a couple of overs, 3 overs, and come and bat at number 6, 7. Shivam can even bat higher than that. So I think they will be in demand. Again, I mean, I don't know how much I'm sure the franchise would be thinking about the venues quite a bit. We're talking about maybe 4 venues as of now: Pune, Brabant, and
Wankhede
and
and Diwali.
Wankhede, right? And DY.
And Reliance
So
Stadium as well.
and maybe the Reliance as well, right? So let's say 4 as of now. So the DY is the only ground where you're thinking about maybe spinners playing a bigger role. Big ground, the pitch can be a little up and down. So is maybe Pune, but Pune, the size of the ground nullifies what the pitch does basically. Again, same with Brabon and Wankhede. They are like batter's paradise. So yeah, I mean, thinking on those lines, I guess you might change. But the tricky part here is we might not have a mega auction in the future, right? So you make the squad or the team thinking about this season, or maybe going forward. Going forward, we might go back to home and away next season. And when I say home and away, I'm talking about 9 home and 9 away. So those things, I mean, it's a from that perspective, it's a tricky one. So it'll be interesting to see today how these franchises they approach the whole the auction in terms of, yes, you would want your big names and stuff, but as Anand and Veda were talking about the Indian domestic players who've been doing well, how much of emphasis is on them as well?
Anand?
Yeah, I think also scouting plays a very big role in this. You can look at the Indian domestic scores or statistics at the end of the year, and it can be quite misleading. You really need to know in what conditions a certain batsman has made runs, or in what circumstances a bowler has taken wicket. Like Joyda was just talking, if Rishi Dhawan takes 30 wickets this year and he took 30 wickets last year as well, has he improved as a bowler? Has he changed as a bowler? Has he grown as a cricketer? I think that's a very crucial thing. So the teams that have the best scouting at domestic level, that have actually watched these matches, that have people who can judge how much a player has improved, I think will play a crucial role in who picks up the best domestic talent.
And that happened this time because I spoke to a lot of the scouters from all the franchisees. They were there at almost every match of the Vijay Hazare and Saeed Mishra, not just Saeed Mishra, Vijay Hazare as well, right up till the final. I think all of them were there. So definitely.
That's right, Rupa. Yeah, that's right, Rupa, because I was there till the Mustaq Ali final, and I was also there in the Vijay Hazare final at the venue, and they were all there.
Yeah, they were all there.
Some had sent 2. I said, "What are you guys doing? 2 games going on in tandem." That's how serious they are, because the semis are in tandem.
There is a definite interest, and there are quite a few players whom I'm keeping my eyes out for Nikhil Gangta and of course for Sai Sudarshan. There are quite a few very interesting picks there, which
Sai
might
Sudarshan
be
is very good.
Yeah,
Sai
swing the way.
Sudarshan is very good. Yeah, very good.
Quite impressed by him as well. But yeah, swiftly moving on, guys. We do have a few more teams left to kind of decode. Let's look at Veda's team. Royal Challengers Bangalore. Let's have a look at how they've done so far. We do know that they've gotten possibly their captain in a Faf du Plessis. a very calming influence there, right at the top with Virat Kohli. How will the batting shape up? Seems a little interesting. Virat and Faf at the top may not be the best way to go, but is that what they'll probably be looking for ahead right now? Hazelwood, Siraj, Harshal, fabulous rest of the lineup there. Veda, yours first before I move to the rest.
Well, I'm like kind of pretty confused with the squad at the moment. Like I don't mind Faf and Virat opening. Like CSK, Ruturaj and Faf opened as well. It would be something like Ruturaj was not someone who is dynamic, just goes all guns blazing. He builds an innings, and Virat also is someone who builds an innings and makes it big if he stays. And Faf on the other hand just compliments. I think he has this knack of complimenting the other batter. If the batter is aggressive, he compliments in such a nice way, like staying around. And if the runs are not coming, and he takes that aggressive role, so he is a very good buy. Getting him for 7 is like a steal, I would say. But at the same time, we have Maxwell who would bat at 4. We still need someone who can bat at 3. We need someone who can bat at 5. Hasaranga was, if something came out of the syllabus for all of us, we all expected
Why?
No, it did, because as RCB fans, everybody were looking at them going for Chahal, regardless of what it is, because the amount of performance is given for the team. It is like one of your own. You look at them as like your player. They're definitely going to go for him. So it's like tomorrow if Virat is in the auction and they don't go for Virat, we'll all be upset. So it is on those lines. So them not going for Chahal has disappointed a lot of them. And by the end of the day, them not going for any of the Karnataka players has actually, I would say, ticked off a lot of RCB fans. I've been getting a lot of messages from current cricketers, from the ones who were in auction and not RCB not trying for them, from the former cricketers, not just women cricketers. I'm talking about players who've played Ranji Trophy and just cricket fans who like sending me messages or commenting on Twitter saying that Akka, they're not even going for Karnataka players. How do they expect us to be loyal to them? So like this is something which for RCB as a franchisee, I think they've really missed a plot here. They kind of managed having Devdutt for a couple of years. We still had this thing, okay, our boy is still there, and a young boy is still there. We've seen him grow up. So that is kind of we are very emotional. We have that connect to the city, to the language. It is very similar to Chennai, but I think Chennai, because of MS, the aura of him, automatically whoever goes in becomes a Chennai. So he is from Chennai only. They'll forget if what city he's come from. Tomorrow, if like today, if Rituraj is playing, he's from Chennai. They'll forget he's from Maharashtra. So they have that kind of a thing, making the others as their own. So that is one thing that fan base also is such, like they're very, very oriented. You see a CSK fan, they would be very emotional about their team. At the same time, RCB also has this thing, but we don't have, such a big heart as CSK to accept theirs and make it as our own. We still want our own players to make sure that we're still biased to Karnataka boys, we're still biased to people who can speak Kannada. That is something which is like, by the end of the day, I was like really confused. I was like, at least one take the melo. Like, why think about not like they're not even trying. Like CSK did try for Shah Rukh Khan. They were in a bidding war for a while. And RCB didn't raise their hand even once. Any of the that is very disappointing. Everything is live. People are watching. When those gestures are also not done, no, that kind of hurts. I feel like it is like very hurtful. It's coming straight from my heart.
Can we agree, guys, that
But
that's the last?
no,
Thank
listen, but
you.
Joyda and
I still love RCB.
I would be happy because we've got a.
I'll still support RCB, but it's like hurt. I'm hurt. Everybody
I'm waiting
has
for the
More than
RCB
I
women's
would be
IPL
happy
team. That's
because
probably what I want to talk about.
we've got a Bengal boy playing for RCB. So yeah, I mean, not too many of them are playing. We got Shabazz playing there. So we are with RCB, Veda. Don't worry
But
about
Deep,
that.
that has been the trend. I remember a few years back in KKR, there was Robin Uttapa, there was Manish Pandey, there was Vinay Kumar. A lot of the Karnataka boys were there. It's actually
But
one
we
brings
had
the other.
KL at that time. We had KL at that time. This is just to compensate. There was at least one. Like we had Robin for a while. We had Manish also. We
Manish
had
Pandey, he scored 100 with us, you guys. Yeah.
we had Mayank. We had KL. We had Vinay Kumar. Like
You had
they
Anil
did
Kumble.
move from RCB and go and play somewhere else. But that is
I
not
agree with you, Veda. Yeah, I agree
one.
with you. Get Veda into the support
Just
staff.
raise your hand
Get
for one.
Veda into the support staff.
You don't
Veda's
want to
view
worry.
is
It's
the
okay.
final
At
view on
least
RCB, guys.
be in the
We
bidding
need-
war.
I
Get
think
Veda
Veda's view is the final
into
view
the
on
support
RCB.
staff.
No, but that is something. I mean, yeah. I mean, you've got to feel for it. I mean, I guess we all agree with what Veda is saying. Yeah, there has to be some local connect, even though Virat is, like what MS is to Chennai. I think Virat is to Bangalore. That's my perception. I don't know how much of that is true. Veda would be able to let us know. But just looking at the team, apart from that side, looking at the team, I think RCB has done well here, according to me. You look at the bowling side, it's set, right? You've got Shabazz, Hasranga, Harshal, Josh Hazelwood, Mohammad Siraj, and you've got a backup in Akashdeep. I think they've done really well as far as bowling is concerned. Batting, you've got out the six batters, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, DK, Glenn Maxwell, Faf, and Virat sorted. So you're looking for two. And having said that, Anuj Rawat, personally, I really like that kid. I think he's a really good wicket-keeper batter. Somebody who's very flexible in terms of where he can bat. He can open. He can bat at six. I've seen him playing really well and winning games for Delhi, batting at 6, 5, and 6. So I mean, he's good enough. So I think they've done well. I don't think they have. I mean, they still need another couple of players at least, maybe batters and maybe another Indian spinner just in case, because they already have four overseas in their playing 11, going by what they have so far. So you've got Faf, Glenn Maxwell, Hasaranga,
Yes, yeah.
Josh Hazelwood. Maybe they might be looking at an Indian spinner, spinning option, just in case, they want to play another top order overseas batter or something.
Okay, I'm going to
Just
quickly
just
move.
adding.
Sure.
Sorry, if I can just quickly add to that. The thing with RCB also is they have been a bit inconsistent with their selections of the playing 11 in the past. You never know. They build a certain squad and then they do something slightly different with the 11 sometimes. Like Hasaranga, they've broken the bank for this time and gone for them. They had Hasaranga before, they hardly played it. So perhaps they see him as a much improved cricketer and see him as one of their four frontline overseas players. But with RCB, I'd always wait and watch because they can build the best 15 and then play some very strange and unexplained 11s as the tournament goes on.
Agreed.
But the general trend has also been, there are a lot of teams that don't have local players. Hyderabad don't have, Rajasthan don't have, KKR don't have, Delhi just has Rishabh Pant. So the general trend, I'm totally with Veda on this. There should be some local connect.
Okay, just moving on quickly because we have four more teams and very little time. We're going to look at Rajasthan Royals and Sunrisers Hyderabad back to back so that we can get them out of the way. Rajasthan Royals first. That's the first remaining 12 crores. Got a fabulous top three right there in Butler, top five. In Butler, Yashasvi, Padikkal. We don't know who will feature where, who's going to miss out, what's that going to be like. A lot of decisions to be taken regarding the batting lineup. They've got a few interesting buys as well. Yuzvendra Chahal in the bowling department, Yuzvendra Chahal, Trent Bolt, and R. Ashwin, Karyappa as well as Prasidh Krishna. Moving on, let's also look at Sunrisers Hyderabad. They've had an interesting day one in some margin. They obviously have Kane Williamson, the only foreigner, if I'm correct, in that entire lineup. So they have a lot of purchasing
Nicholas
to do.
Puran?
Puran.
And
Yeah.
I stand corrected. Nicholas Puran and Kane Williamson there. Quite a few purchasing that to do. A lot of youngsters in that entire lot, inexperienced lot, apart from, say, Rahul Tripathi, Shreyas Gopal, just a handful of them. Boovies leading the pace attack. So, quick thoughts on these two franchisees, guys. Let's start with Rajasthan. What will they be looking to do today? Anything,
Right.
right?
Okay. So Rajasthan for me, I think on my shopping list would be middle order, overseas finisher, and seam bowler for Rajasthan. Even if Josh Butler is batting at 4, you got maybe Yashasvi, Devdutt, Sanju, Josh Butler 1, 2, 3, 4, Hetma 5. Yeah, I mean, looking for a
Two
finisher, and
Particle and Yashasvi at the top, the
yeah, I guess. I mean, if that's, I mean, that's how it stands for me. Yashasvi, Devdutt, and Sanju at 3, Josh at 4. Ideally speaking, Josh should open for me always in this format.
Yeah.
No two ways about it. But just in case, I'm saying, just in case of what we have on the table as of now, Yashasvi, Padikal, the Sanju, Josh, Hetma. So they're top 5 there thereabouts. They might need another middle order batter so that Josh can open. And yeah, I mean, bowling wise, yeah, they need the. I mean, they've got Prasidh Krishna, Trent Bolt. They need a third seamer, uh, ideally an all rounder, seam bowling all rounder. And obviously they have Yuzi Ashwin, KC Karyappa, so they have enough spin bowling options there. Medium paces and or maybe an all rounder seam bowling.
What about
quick thoughts.
Livingston, Deep? Do you think Livingston's what he was from there? He played there last year, did he not? Livingston could be.
Yes, you.
He did, but I
He
don't
might be.
think so. They would want him. They would want someone who can bowl as well, because their 5 is fixed. They need someone at 6. Having Livingston, who's more of a pure batter, I don't think so. He would be ideal, and who would fit into that thing. And even if he bowls leg spin. You have spinners already. Ashwin and Chahal will feature in the 11 for sure.
Yeah.
So you need a pace bowling all rounder.
Again, overseas middle order won't. I mean, they have what? Josh Butler, Hetma at 2, Trent Bolt 3. So yeah, they can do with a middle order, overseas middle order, one of them, and then Josh can open, and obviously the West Indies middle. I mean, the seam bowling all rounders that are available there, 3, 4 of them, would be good buys for RR.
Okay, let's move to Sunrisers. Sunrisers, Joyda, if you can just tell us about that. They will need a strong opening combination for sure if you want to save Kane as a number 3 and kind of guide the whole innings through. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. They're just lacking firepower in this. I know they've got Rahul Tripathi, which is a good buy, but Nicholas Puran maybe didn't have a great tournament last year, so we don't know what's coming up with that. But the rest of the team, I mean, you can't replace people like David Warner. That's a huge name to replace. Even somebody like a Manish Pandey in the middle, whenever he's had some off days also, but when he's done well, he's done well. And David Warner is somebody you probably need 2 guys, maybe even 3 guys to replace somebody as consistent as him, as much of a match winner. You know, he'd bat 14, 15 overs, 10 games, 11 games. You don't see that too often. Also in the bowling department. So SRH clearly are looking a little rattled. I think Natarajan on the way back, Kartik Tyagi, one good season. Shreyas Gopal doesn't play. I think Deep pointed out yesterday. Washington Sundar, one, that's a good buy. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, maybe not at his best. Umran Malik, Abdul Samad, Abhishek Sharma from 6.5 crores. He's at a good domestic tournament, but IPL is a different ball game altogether. So they'll have some thinking to do.
I was
Right.
kind of surprised they didn't go for Jason Roy when they lost David Warner. He did well for them coming in late in the tournament, and he just went for 2 crores. It's not like they didn't have money. They have a lot of money left, and they could have just bought him for a steal, and their opener would have been sorted. Like now, if you look at it, they don't have an opener, and like both the position, like certain teams have like at least one who is like a match winner who would take the game away, and I
Yeah, I
feel
agree.
they missed the trick on not going for Jason Roy.
Okay,
I agree.
we're going to quickly move on. Sorry, guys, we're just short of time. So I'm going to just probably look at the 2 new teams to wrap this up, and then we can probably put in a few more thoughts that we have missed out on anything. Looking at Gujarat Titans first. Let's look at them, and then the Lucknow Super Giants as well. So Gujarat Titans. That's what it looks like. Went for Rahul Tripathi towards the end for 9 crores, but the biggest, they've got 3 top 10 crore plus buys in. I mean, that was the retention already. Lockie Ferguson came in at 10, which is on day 1 yesterday, and of course they pocketed Jason Roy, who we were speaking about, with Shubman Gill. at the top of the order. To move and look at Lucknow Super Giants. Had a very, very good day one. They're probably the least on day, count regarding the post on day two, but got a solid pick there. A lot of all-rounders there, pace and spin sort of packing that middle order. But thoughts on how these two teams will progress for day two, gentlemen and Veda? Anyone, please. take your pick. Not gonna.
I like the Lucknow, how they're shaping up with Deepak, Rahul, Manish, Stoinis, Deepak Huda, Krunal Pandya. I think they've got their six, like top six. And at the same time, they have Ravi Bishnoi, who's done really well for Kings 11. So their spinner is sorted, and having an Indian spinner gives an additional this thing of going for an overseas fast bowler maybe. So I think with Tewatia as well, like gives another all round. I would say like even number 7 is sorted. So now they have to just go with like a strong overseas fast bowler, maybe like an Alzari Joseph or someone who could come in and bowl quick, like 140 plus, and even can bat a bit in the end. So I would think that they're very smart. Gambhir is a very smart cricketing brain. He's done really well for KKR when he was leading. Smart captain. So those things are coming out. I feel like they know exactly what they're doing.
Well, their all-rounders start at number 4 itself, so no want for a proper Indian batter somewhere there. Lucknow, thoughts for anybody to jump in?
Yeah, I think they can. This is probably a chance for some of these maybe either you go for the Vander Russen, that sort of batsman, or you probably even potentially can experiment with some of the likes of Yash Dal. I think today you might see the likes of these under-19 boys get a chance. I'm hoping the likes of Yash Dal, etc., get a chance in some of these new franchises, new blood. Could be a good opportunity.
Norman?
I was going to add something there. I think we're forgetting there's a bucket load of bargains in the Australian players that haven't yet been picked up, and I think these two, the last franchises that have been taken on, will be looking very closely at the Australian bowlers that are available. A number of the batters that have come through, like even young Hayden Kerr, they're going to be bargain basements, and they're going to be very, very useful for new teams because they can really develop them from an early stage. I think they've got to take that opportunity also and watch out for the bargains, which Australia has a bucket load of players. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. And I think a lot of the other teams, other franchises, are thinking the same way. But I think both Lucknow, especially Lucknow, they need to look closely at the Australians as bargains when they come through. And I'll be seeing a lot of these Australian players playing in a matter of 2 hours at the SCG when they take on Sri Lanka. I'll be looking at Hasaranga versus a whole bucket load of Australians. So I'll be probably a bit of background noise next time I'm on with the SCG, I'm pretty sure.
All right, guys, I think that's all we have time for. If there is a particular player you guys want to say who you're probably keenly watching today, if there are any, do shout out.
Tim David. Tim David.
Tim David. Tim David is going to captain a franchise.
Norman, what about McDermott?
Sorry?
What about McDermott?
Yeah, well, Ben McDermott certainly would be in the. But there are so many. I mean, Hayden Kerr, watch out for that name. He's someone that really sparked interest in Australia and will do so. We're forgetting even the more experienced Nathan Coulter-Nile, but yeah, Tim David certainly, even Josh Philippe's another. There's quite a few that are there that are going to prove very worthwhile players in the franchise.
I'm waiting for Raj to come under the hammer, my brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the younger players. Yeah, I think we can root for them.
Is that a plug or something?
I hope Huey is feeling better. Otherwise, we'll have a long day.
I think that's what we should end with. We need to move on quickly today, guys. We need to move on quickly today. Hopefully that'll happen, and hopefully we'll be lesser tired when we meet next. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you later at lunch.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.